And today, a few housekeeping announcements. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, we request all mobile phones and all electronic devices to kindly be kept onto silent mode so that we have no disturbance during the proceedings of the sessions of the day. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, SIA-INDIA is facilitating B2B meetings adjacent to the VIP lounge area. A dedicated volunteer is also stationed there who would guide you and help you as far as the B2B meetings are concerned. Each slot is for 30 minutes based on first come, first served basis. So if you wish to attend your B2B meeting, we would request you to kindly book your slot at the earliest. And we would also like to invite all of you to kindly join us for the InSpace X War Game 4.0 scheduled on 26th of February. The fourth edition of this advanced tabletop exercise moves beyond the traditional scenario-based simultaneously to focus on real-world operational dependency and also the critical role of space-based technologies in strengthening the national defense readiness and mission assurance. So ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you, and we are honored to welcome all our distinguished dignitaries to the opening plenary of Day 2 of DefSet Conference and Exposition 2026, which is a premier platform where defense, space, and strategic technologies converge to shape India's national security architecture. May I now request everyone to kindly take their seats as we prepare to commence the formal proceedings. And I would request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly grace the stage. I invite Major General Neeraj Shukla, AVSM, SM, Officiating Director General, Strategic Planning, Indian Army. Let's put our hands together to welcome sir. Inviting Mr. R. Shakya, Additional Director General Telecom, Haryana LSA, Department of Telecommunication. We invite Mr. Rainer Horn, Partner Novaspace. Warm welcome to you, sir. Inviting Mr. Niranjan Malode, Deputy CEO, Safran Data Systems India. Warm welcome to you, sir. Inviting Mr. Shivaji Chateerjee, President and CEO, Hughes Communication. Warm welcome. Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-INDIA, and Mr. Anil Prakash, Director General SIA-INDIA. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now request everyone to kindly rise for the national song followed by the national anthem.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sukhalam, Malayaj Sheetala, Sasya Shyamala Mataram, Vande Mataram, Jyotsna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini, Suhasini, Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Janagana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He, Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha, Dravida Utkala Vanga, Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga, Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga. तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you. Kindly be seated.
जनगण मन
Namaskar and good morning. Respected dignitaries, senior military leaders, policymakers, technology innovators, and industry partners, distinguished guests, respected members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pride to welcome you to Day 2 of DEFCIT Conference and Exposition 2026, which is a premier global platform dedicated to advancing the synergy between defense, space, and strategic technologies. Organized by SIA-INDIA, DEFCIT 2026 stands at an intersection of national security imperatives and next-generation space capabilities. This year's theme, Space at the Core to National Security, are both timely and transformative. As the geopolitical landscape evolves and technology becomes the decisive factor in safeguarding sovereignty, space has emerged not merely as a domain of exploration, but as a critical pillar of defense preparedness, intelligence superiority, and strategic deference. Over the years, DEFCIT has emerged as one of the nation's most consequential platforms, uniting senior military leaders, policymakers, technology innovators, and industry partners to chart the future of military space strategy. This year's edition comes at a historic juncture as India announces its highest ever defense budget of rupees 7.85 crores for the financial year 2026-27, with a significant capital outlay of rupees 2.19 lakh crores dedicated to the next generation platforms, advanced weapons, launch systems, and space-enabled technologies. In line with the Make in India vision, 1.39 lakh crore rupees has been prioritized for procurement from domestic defense industries, underscoring our commitment to self-reliance and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, DEFCIT is not just a dialogue, it is a vision where military excellence meets technological brilliance and where India asserts its place as a global leader in defense space strategy. And today we are honored that the opening plenary of Day 2 of DEFCIT 2026 is graced by an eminent constellation of military leadership, strategic thinkers, cybersecurity experts, and global space industry pioneers, reflecting the multi-dimensional character of today's national security ecosystem. I would now request Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-INDIA, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our distinguished dignitaries with floral bouquets and the ceremonial stoles as a mark of our respect and gratitude. We welcome and honor Major General Neeraj Shukla, AVSM SM, Officiating Director General Strategic Planning, Indian Army. Warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome and honor Mr. R. Shakya, Additional Director General Telecom Haryana, LSA, Department of Telecommunications. We welcome and honor Mr. R. Shakya, Additional Director General Telecom Haryana, LSA, Department of Telecommunication. A very warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome and honor Mr. Rainer Horn, Partner Novaspace. Warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome and honor Mr. Niranjan Malode, Deputy CEO, Safran Data Systems India. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And we welcome and honor Mr. Shivaji, Chateerjee, President and CEO, Hughes Communications. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the Satcom Industry Association, SIA-INDIA, is the leading industry body representing India's space and satellite communications ecosystem. It serves as a vital bridge between the government, defense, regulators, and the private industry, promoting policy advocacy, indigenous innovation, and global collaboration. Through initiatives such as DefSat and the India Space Congress, SIA-INDIA plays a key role in strengthening India's space capabilities in alignment with national security and strategic priorities. And Dr. Subba Pavuluri, a distinguished technocrat and pioneering entrepreneur with over 4 decades of contribution to India's space program, is the president of SIA-INDIA and chairman and managing director of Anil Technologies, one of India's earliest private companies supporting ISRO and defense programs. And I have the privilege in inviting Dr. Subba Pavuluri for the welcome address. Let's put our hands together to welcome sir.
Namaskar everybody. Good morning. My heartfelt greetings to the distinguished members of the armed forces, esteemed colleagues from industry and academia, and representatives of government agencies, and honored guests. It is my privilege to welcome you all. Thank you. I am honored to share the dais with very distinguished luminaries. Vice Admiral, of course, Sanjay was and could not make it up today. Mr. Amit Satija, or Shakya from DOT. Shivaji Chateerjee, the President of the Hughes Communications. Mr. Rainer On, he is a partner of Novaspace. After an insightful and successful first day, one thing is very clear. Yesterday's sessions went on very well. It's very clear that the conference is not merely exchanging ideas, it's building direction. We are generating not only a transformative thinking, but actionable pathways to strengthen India's space capabilities and strategic preparedness. Yesterday's discussions reaffirmed the centrality of space to our national security architecture, the highlighted and emerging threats across cyber spectrum and electromagnetic and quantum domains. So they are really worrying us now. So all this underscored the urgency of integrated preparedness and what is required for the country today on technological superiority, where we have to be, and sustained investment and resilient into the space programs. So this is what really yesterday's discussions highlighted to us on this part of it. And thank you. Today we'll have more insightful discussions, and welcome me again. Thank you all.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Pavuluri, for those warm words of welcome and for setting the tone for day 2 with clarity and conviction. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the industry perspective on the evolving defense space landscape, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Shivaji Chateerjee, President and CEO of Hughes Communication India. Under his leadership, Hughes has been at the forefront of satellite communications innovation, strengthening secure connectivity and mission-critical infrastructure across India. Let's put our hands together to welcome Sir for the industry address.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, respected leaders from the armed forces, the industry, academia, and any media which is here. It's really a pleasure to be here at this flagship event. I'd argue it's in equal stature to the event last week, the Open AI event, in a more strategic and sovereign manner. So many congrats to SIA for putting this together and for driving this, not just as one event, but I know the efforts where SIA believes in defense at the core of space and space at the core of defense. Through the year, there are various interactions, groups, which actually have led as to this event as a culmination. So it's well appreciated, and it's an honor to speak at this event. If we really see the theme, it's space at the core of India's security. I think this is not just a metaphoric comment, but it's also very operationally true. It is indeed a fact that in the current context, no military operation, no disaster response, no security mission can really take place without space at the core driving it. And satellite communications, or SATCOM, was an enabler, supporting, tactical and strategic communications. There was a lot of use of terrestrial communication, or it was without a live connectivity. That's no longer the case. Today, without doubt, SATCOM is moved from a support space to a more strategic space. Whether we look at determination of outcomes, whether it is the contested space which is there today, it's very strategic in every sense of the word. And SATCOM has become core to space as a basic communication, whether it's in command and control, ISR, whether it's in uncrewed and unmanned communication, in different tactical elements. SATCOM is definitely the key enabler and driver for what is happening. And hence, I'll say it's not just a national security utility. It's essential. It's much like energy, much like spectrum, that it is part of every thinking and action. And in the various discussions that we've had, I've seen, Hughes has been operational in India for 31 years, and I've been with the company for close to 29 years. And I've seen the change in our interactions which have happened with different armed forces, units, and centrally, and what is going on now. The number of projects, the number of discussions, the number of both strategic and tactical use cases, the use of different elements, the way the multi-orbit element has come into thinking, the way ISRO is putting up sovereign satellite assets, whether it's the GSAT 7 series, whether it's CMS, whether it's different, I'll say, commercial capacities which are being used, and whether it's the integration of low Earth orbit into the mainstream by the armed forces. But in that interaction, it's with keeping the sovereignty, the control intact. So it's a fantastic evolution to see how space is not just core, SATCOM has become core to different solutions and different wings of the armed forces, whether today, whether it's the Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, intelligence group, paramilitary forces. There are multiple projects both underway and under discussion to really build this multi-orbit capability and to really position India strategically and to have this as an advantage. So I don't think it's no longer something which is done in a reactive way. It's great to see the transformation and the proactive element. And the other key element is no longer is it about availability. It's really about assurance. So whether it's, achieving the sovereignty, the reliable connectivity is core. So when we talk about integrating terrestrial and SATCOM systems or having multi-orbit SATCOM, multi-band SATCOM, all this is really both meant to provide that availability, the assurance, the reliability, and it's also there to provide that communication at the edge. And that's where the element has come with the unmanned and uncrewed vessels, aircrafts, and UAVs. There's a whole new dimension which is happening of how SATCOM is being driven at the edge to really build that kind of capability and the kind of solutions which have now evolved based on these multi-orbit and multi-band. It provides that kind of flexibility to the armed forces to truly integrate it. At the same time, there's a lot of work on the indigenous capability, and that we heard about the defense budget and the different ecosystem which is now active in India. We as Hughes have been building Make in India solutions which are in spirit and in technology locally developed for the country. Hughes is a global player. There's a lot of work happening. But in India, we are an Indian company and really focusing on building and leveraging the relations we have with the solutions which are active. So even deployments which are happening today, whether it's in quantum key generation, key enablement, all of that is happening with full localization and sovereign control. So that's the kind of way to, I'll say, the industry and the armed forces have to collaborate. And it's at these forums that we can have the meaningful discussion. So I'll just summarize and say that SATCOM truly, I'll say, is the invisible architecture of modern defense. It's very core, and it's no longer optional. So I'll say when communications endure, commands endure. And when commands endure, security prevails. So that's what I'd have to say. Thank you all, and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chateerjee, for that powerful articulation of how industry innovation is shaping the secure and resilient communications infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to have with us today Major General Neeraj Shukla, AVSM SM, officiating Director General Strategic Planning, Indian Army, who is a highly decorated and accomplished senior officer with an illustrious career spanning operational command, strategic planning, force, modernization, and capability development. Commissioned into the Indian Army with a strong foundation in leadership and operational excellence, Major General Shukla has held a wide range of command and staff appointments across diverse, challenging theatres. His career reflects deep exposure to operational environments, joint force integration, and long-term defense planning. Over the years, he has commanded key formations, and his experience spans counterinsurgency operations, high-altitude deployments, and strategic-level planning assignments within Army headquarters. As officiating Director General Strategic Planning, he plays a vital role in steering the Indian Army's long-term capability roadmap, aligning operational requirements with emerging technologies, space-enabled systems, network-centric warfare capabilities, and integrated theatre preparedness. Major General Shukla is a recipient of the Air Vishesh Seva Medal and Sena Medal in recognition of his distinguished and meritorious service to the nation. And let's put our hands together as I request Sir to kindly address the gathering.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Up front, let me thank you for giving me an opportunity to address this August gathering. The founding and the advisory board members of SIA, scholars from academia, industry partners, from both from India and abroad, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe there are some students if I can make out, even the students as well. So I am amongst the technologists, startups, so a lot of think tanks. I thought that I'll give a strategic perspective, since I represent the strategic planning branch of the Indian Army, on this subject of why is space core to national security. And I thought before we talk about space, it is important to understand and think about what is national security. I think normally we are aligned to the fact that national security is all related to defense. And I think if I don't talk about a bit more about the national security, I think then we are taking a wrong lessons for our space objectives, which we'll have to define for ourselves by the end of this conclave that we are having over a period of 3 days. So national security is, as we have understood, we would have read during our course of our careers in whichever field we are, is related to DIME. That is the acronym which is given by the Americans. This is diplomacy, information, military, and economics. That DIME construct has now changed to an Indian construct, as we have started calling it as DIMPLE FIT, which also includes leadership. It also includes our economy. It includes our indigenous technology, which we are harping upon. Mr. Chateerjee just spoke about Make in India. And then in this paradigm, which are the instruments of power of the country, is where the national security fits in. It also involves our cyber security, our space assets, human resource security, security of our critical minerals, critical elements, and our natural resources. So if any of these paradigms are not being met, then the national security is under threat. If we have understood this, then we have to what we have to understand is the difference between the character of war, which has changed in last about a century or so. So if I may just take your mind back to about, say, 5 to 6 centuries back, when the engines came in the 16th century, that innovation lasted for about a century. And, the battle was fought only on the basis of the engine. The entire, the alignment of the war fighting or the victory of the war fighting was dependent on the kind of engines that people had. Then in the 17th and the 18th century was electricity. That again changed the character of war. Then in the 20th century came computing, computers. And then now we have a whole lot of emerging technologies, 64 of them, primarily that we are talking about. We've just concluded AI, Global AI Summit here, then quantum computing, machine learning. All of these, now what has happened is that the technology which was available earlier, both for civil and military use, now all these 64 emerging technologies have started fusing together and they have started becoming part of military arsenal, military platforms. That is how the character of war is changing. The nature of war will remain the same. Even when we were fighting the war in the 16th and the 15th century, it was bloodshed, primordial violence, and animosity. The character of war will even remain the same. The reasons for which we'll go for the war will also remain the same. Ideological differences, your natural resource protection, or otherwise, wanting more land. The victory will always be measured on land. As our chief says it, that the currency of victory is land. God is no more making any more land. In fact, land, because of global warming, is only getting submerged now. All other forms of support or a whole of national approach is in support of the victory on land. And that support is coming from space. Now, as the character of war is changing, as I brought out earlier. And what is that character which is changing? Earlier, the wars were fought on land, air, and sea. Now the war is being fought in cyber, space, electromagnetic spectrum, and information ops, which is the prime. What data we are feeding, are being fed with, what are we absorbing, how are we analyzing it, how is it translating into our decision making, is now changing the character of war. Do we need to have an armed forces which is only looking at the military platforms and space assets, or do we need an armed forces who's also conscious about the information operations, information warfare, which also includes perception management? So we have all presently now become a data point. We are one part of a data ourselves as a human being. Because we are consuming so much of data that maybe, and reading less, and having our own critical thinking are a little bit reduced, because somebody who's supplying that data or feeding us with data is shaping our thought process. Now, as we have aligned ourselves to the national aim articulated by our Prime Minister in 2023 from the ramparts of Red Fort of Viksit Bharat, that was a time when the Indian Army aligned itself to the mission of transformation of Indian Army. Our former Chief, General Manoj Pandey, in 2023 gave us that year of transformation. When General Dwivedi, our present Chief, took over, he said he realized that a year is too short a time to transform a huge army like ours, or the armed forces, and particularly the army. So he gave our timeline, increased the timeline to a decade. So we took on a decade of transformation. Last year, our Raksha Mantri gave us the motto of a year of reform, so that while we are going into a decade of reform, what is it that we want to reform, so that we have some focus areas on which we can, put in our energies and bring the country forward as far as the war fighting is concerned. So while the Prime Minister gave us the motto of Viksit Bharat, so what does Viksit Bharat mean? It meant to make India a significant participant in defining world order and be amongst the top countries where people want to live. This is what is the mission of Viksit Bharat. So when we are a Viksit Bharat by 2047, what is the army that we want? The army at Viksit Bharat that we want is able to carry out effective deterrence and is able to execute operations in multi-domains. That is what is the mission of armed forces. And if that is a mission, that we want to carry out effective deterrence, because India has never been a war-fighting nation. We have not gone and captured land and territories. We were prosperous enough. We need to build up that prosperity and by indigenization. And if that is our vision, that we want to carry out effective deterrence, which means that all our platforms have to be capable of carrying out war fighting from first generation of war to the sixth generation of warfare. So I'll take a minute to define what is the first generation of warfare. What we have read in our histories, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the massing of troops. Troops used to stand in front of each other with their spears, swords, bows and arrows and would fight. That was first generation. Second generation was when we went in trench warfare. Third generation was when Blitzkrieg, when the mobile platforms came in, the tanks came in between the First and the Second World War. Fourth generation war was the hybrid war when the terrorism started coming in. Fifth generation war was when technology started fusing in, and sixth generation is when AI is becoming the decision maker for the mankind. So no war fighting of the future will ever be in space, will ever be in one specific domain. Technology is only an enabler. The war fighting finally will have to be done by the man in the loop or the man on the ground. So if that be the case, then now I'll go by a bit of script, which I thought that I must give a different narrative to this august audience to understand that where all space fits in. There is hardly a portion of our life where space is not impacting. For India, from east coast of Africa to Sunda Strait or Malacca Strait, by destiny, as a nation, we are both a continental and a maritime country. And we have our stakes in almost everything in the world. And as we rise, if we are going to be at the growth rate of 7.5% now, the best in the world, where the best of the world's Western economies are, laggards at about 2.5%. Maybe China is about 4.5%. And by 2030, 32, when we want to be a 7.5 to 10 trillion economy, and by 2047, a 30 trillion economy, certainly our interest will increase. Our resource protection will be more important to us. Our areas of interest will increase. As a responsible global country, a power, we will have our say in most of the things that are happening in the world. And that is where the space will come in. We will have to have the visibility of everything on earth, what is happening. And with that, I thought that, if I could say that there could be 3 Ds that we have to look into, that we are now, modern militaries are now structurally dependent on space for, as Mr. Chateerjee also brought out, he was talking about SATCOM, ISR, that is intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, position, navigation and timing. All of this have to be taken care of. We have to also be conscious that there should be no disruption in any of our activities that we are wanting to do by space capability. And then we should be able to deny anybody who's trying to prevent us from achieving what we want to achieve. So the capability of denial in space is also something what we are looking for. Op Sindoor is one example where we utilized the assets of space, both of ours and of friendly foreign countries, in taking decisions that we took. And with the predictive analysis that is coming in, the OSINT, superpowered by AI, machine learning, we will be able to take a decision faster. Another thing that we used to talk about was OODA loop, that is observe, orient, decide and act. Army took time in observing, in orienting themselves, where is the enemy, and then decide and act. With all of the space facility, with the battlefield becoming transparent, that double O will get deleted now. Observe and orient will be in real time. It will be only for the decision maker to take, decide and to act. I also want to touch upon one issue, which is a moral and ethical issue, which our chief talks about, General Dwivedi. Our Prime Minister has been speaking about it. We are a responsible nation. And as a responsible nation, we are not in rivalry with anyone. We are not in competition with anyone. So if our adversary on the north or anywhere in the west is having X amount of space assets, it does not mean that we want the same. It might not be our necessity. We should be as a responsible, and we are not in competition with anyone. We as a responsible power, we should believe in our adhyatmic culture, our spiritual culture, that we will only carry out dohan and not shoshan. If I quote the shlok from one of the Vedas, which says, Doham kurma sansadhanam na kadapi shoshanam, lok hitay bhutanam sanrakshanam prathanam vratam, which means we practice responsible utilization of resources, never exploitation, all for the welfare of all of the beings, and protection is our foremost vow. So as a responsible nation, when we are looking at the defense of a country, we have to also be the sustainer of our civilization. So space is not only to be used or exploited for defense, but also for sustenance for whom we are defending. If there is no population who is to be defended, then what are we going to be defending? And finally, I want to end my little discourse by saying that our space itself, the acronym, if we call SPAC space as an acronym, we have to now take again a moral high ground to say that space debris management is also our responsibility. It is going to affect the people on land. And finally, our space assets are under a threat if there is too much of a debris. For P, we may call it peaceful utilization. We are a peaceful nation. We want the world to progress. We want the humanity to progress. But if we are threatened, we will make sure that we take the punitive action that is required to be taken. And for A, we will call it avoiding weaponization of space. While we will not restrain ourselves from not weaponizing and not be prepared for weaponization of space, but I think we should be the articulator of non-weaponization of space. And then when we talk about C, we should talk about compliance with international laws. Except for one law passed in 1967, there are no laws. There are no laws for near space as well, which again is being thought of exploitation by various powers or spacefaring nations. And finally, E, which should be ethical usage of space. So this is what I thought that I would kind of share. I had made a script as well, but I thought I'll go extempore primarily for the fact that all of you are all technical giants and experts in your own field. So for me to give you a prospect of what national security implies to a nation, not only the army, is what I thought I should bring to light, so that our technological prowess is directed not only towards weaponization of space, but utilization of space for the greater benefit of mankind, which in any case, hopefully should make the world a better place to live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, General, for your powerful insights on strategic planning and the role of space in the modern military operations. Ladies and gentlemen, the General Officer has another pressing commitment to attend to and would like to take leave from the stage. And I would request Mr. Pavuluri to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude and appreciation.
My apologies for abandoning the platform. I would have loved to learn. Maybe I'll see if I can make it later in the day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for sparing your valuable time and gracing this occasion and for that insightful address. May I request for a group photograph before General Shukla leaves? Can we have a group photograph, please? Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And moving on, we would now like to invite Mr. Niranjan Malode, Deputy CEO, Safran Data Systems India. Safran has been a key player in advanced data systems, telemetry and mission-critical technologies that support the strategic aerospace and defense operations. And we request you, sir, to kindly address the gathering. Let's put our hands together to welcome.
While the slides come up, dignitaries on the stage of the dais, all the industry partners. I like the word partners more than, calling someone customers, vendors. I think in this ecosystem, we all today, if we are not partners to each other, we won't progress in the way that we plan to. So, welcome to all our partners, ladies and gentlemen. Safran as a group, it's one of the largest aerospace companies globally. Today I represent Safran Data Systems India, and what I would like to present is how and through what platforms we can support the country's sovereignty through through space technologies. So quickly, briefing on Safran Space per se. We are providing some key COTS equipment starting from IMUs, certain PNT solutions like atomic clocks, from the hall thrusters, electric propulsion, to the ground stations. Something that we expertise on is the space communication through our Cortex modems, which have been involved in most of India's flagship programs like Chandrayaan, Gaganyaan, upcoming programs as well. Also, I would like to highlight something on the space situational awareness domain, what we at Safran Space are doing. I think it is key when it comes to the defense of our nation. Then we are also into ground-based optics. Optical ground stations is something that we are working very extensively on. We are into instrumentation and safety for the launch vehicles, and of course the overall PNT solutions that we have. Safran Data Systems India per se, I'm very proud to say that we as a company, our original name was Captronic Systems. We were founded in 1999. An Indian company built from scratch in India. And with the policies that we have today in place, I think Safran looked at us as a potential player, not only as an enabler for Make in India, but also as a key technology company that works in radio frequency domain, has expertise in simulation and testing, and can help the group scale up their operations in India. And I would like to thank our Honorable Prime Minister with his key initiatives that a company like Captronic Systems, which was, founded and built in India for over 25 years, was acquired by a giant like Safran. And today, with this acquisition since 2022, in last 3 years, not only that we have grown in terms of our business operations 4 times, it's also a sign that now we have access to global technology and we can offer this technology to our Indian partners. Currently, at this moment, we are 200 plus employees and growing at very rapid pace. We have delivered more than 2,500 projects to DRDOs, PSUs, ISRO, and several other industries, private industries. We are an AS 9100D certified company with over 5 sites in India. So I like to move quickly to, okay, this is our map where we are based out of, but coming to where we operate and which are the 3 critical focus areas for our operations. The first is connecting space. I'll be talking in more detail about this, but we have telemetry systems that go on board satellite. We have ground tracking antennas which operate in fully automated mode for the satellite tracking, as well as we have some critical signal processing units, which is the Cortex series. We are global leaders in this. Almost we have 80-85% market share globally on this. And I'm very proud to announce that the Cortex series of products are now made under Make in India in Bangalore at our facility to make sure that we are supporting locally. On enabling aerospace testing and information system, while I'll just briefly touch upon this, we have systems and solutions which are ranging from onboard instrumentation, telemetry to ground flight tracking antennas, missile tracking antennas to data processing units. And on the other core part of our business, we ensure that all the LRUs and packages that go on satellites, launch vehicles, on aircrafts are tested well before they fly. So we are expertised on hardware in-loop simulation, pilot in-loop simulation, human in-loop simulation, data acquisition systems, advanced control systems, and automated test equipment. Okay, let's come to a very interesting topic which is on the space situational awareness and which is very closely linked to the theme of this event. So in this particular domain, I would like to say that we have got more than 150 antennas, passive RF antennas, which are monitoring our space through different countries. These are assets owned by Safran Data Systems, distributed among various nations globally, continuously monitoring the RF signatures and the RF that is there in the space. So, as we are discussing, the first point to protect ourselves is that we must be able to track the other space assets of our not so friendly or enemy adversities. So first thing that we provide as a service is VTrack. VTrack is basically we are able to track all the satellites in the geo orbit, and now starting from this year we will be able to track LEO and MEO orbit satellites as well. So it's very important to keep a track of the assets which are there in all the belts, and we are able to see them. The next is, when we talk about defense satellites, these satellites do not operate in a continuous radiation mode. They operate sometimes in ghosting mode where, for example, they operate to a certain extent and then they turn off their RF signature to disappear from our radars. When I say they disappear, it is important to do certain data analysis to understand where they are. So just to give you an example, we were trying to do analysis with our team and find out that certain not so friendly nation satellites which are turning off their RF signatures, do they have any pattern in their spectrum that we can monitor and see what are the signature or what are the signals that they emit just before switching off their RF frequencies. And we were able to establish that rationale, that what happens before they disappear and what happens when they appear. And because of this huge data that we have and the spectrum monitoring system that we have, which is called VWatch, even when they are not emitting, we can predict their trajectories of their satellites, where they can be. So it's the next level where we are able to watch the enemy always. Then the most important aspect today is that our national security related satellites or the defense satellites are protected at all the cost. For this, the enemy nations may try to induce certain RF signals which can hamper the operations of our assets. It's very important to find where are these RF signals coming from and what is the exact location where we should carry out our operations. This is exactly what geolocation is. With geolocation, we will be able to find out where, from which country, from which location, exact location, this particular RF signatures are being emitted towards our national defense assets. That's geolocation or VMAP. And the last portion of it is Titan. I would not be able to disclose all the details related to this particular service here in an open forum, but it's specially meant for the intelligence departments. Any aspect with respect to this that you would like to understand, we have a booth. I would be more than happy to share certain details with you. On the other capabilities, I think we are assuring that the launch vehicle and the satellites that are being manufactured in this country, in our country, are getting tested to the right level. I think it has become very, very critical that with the increased pace of production that we have seen on both the sides, on the launch vehicle as well as on the satellites, we are testing them at the right level. Make in India for us is not just a part or it's just not a regulatory norm to be ticked. For us, we focus on three areas. One is design in India, second is manufacture in India, and third is support in India. I strongly believe that if all these three aspects are not met, Make in India is not complete. And any of the foreign OEMs who wants to operate in India under Make in India program must take this very seriously on all the three aspects. And this is what we at Safran are doing. We are assuring, we are designing in India, we are manufacturing in India, and we are supporting from India. These are the prestigious programs with which we are currently associated with, or we have been associated with for a long time. I would just like to briefly touch upon with one of our sister companies, which is Safran AI. This is another very critical aspect when it comes to the sovereignty of our country. At Safran AI, we have three levels of services that we provide. One is detection of the assets through not only through just the satellite images, which is SAR-based images, which we do, but also through radars or very high-resolution optical images. We are able to do detection of the objects or assets. We are able to classify them, and we are able to identify them. So, for example, we were able to see through certain satellite imagery in one of the air bases in Pakistan on how many aircrafts do they have, and then classify them as fighter aircrafts or civilian aircrafts. Also, we are able to identify to the level on what type of aircrafts were they. So this is a very critical capability that as a company we are offering when it comes to Safran AI per se. To going to the level of identification, we have very advanced AI models. Again, our colleagues from Safran AI are there on our booth. You want to discuss something in further details, we are more than happy. Just as a closing remark, I would like to say that at Safran Data Systems India and at Safran in general, we are focused on three aspects which are key. One is Make in India, covering all the three aspects which I said. Second is partnering with the Indian MSMEs. It's very critical. We have Geminus here, we have Aventel, Novaspace, Agnikul, Anand Technologies. We have partnered with them on several programs, projects per se. And it's very, very important for us as a company to have this solid partnerships with the Indian companies to progress. And the third and the last aspect to it is we are assuring and making sure that the data that comes or through our system stays in the country and is protected at an appropriate level through cybersecurity measures. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thanks for being an August audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very important MOU exchange between Safran and Geminus Space. The purpose of the MOU is to solve the challenges associated with the large-scale operations of ground systems through integration of Safran ground space equipment and Geminus unified ground operations platform. And we already have on the stage with us Mr. Niranjan Malode, Deputy CEO, inviting on stage Mondip Dora, CTO, and Noel Ballot, EVP Safran Space. And from Geminus Space, we invite the CEO, Mr. Deepak Tiwari, and Colonel Alok Parashar, CPO. And let's put our hands together on that MOU exchange between Safran and Geminus Space. And I would request the CEO, Geminus Space, Mr. Deepak Tiwari, to kindly say a few words on the significance of this MOU.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Special thanks to Safran Systems. If I may quote my colleague Colonel Parashar's words, the ground segment operation, especially the journey of data from the RF raw signals to until it becomes ready for analysis, is the least glamorous or not as glamorous as launching satellite operation. But it's critical part to the success of any mission objectives for the reasons that why the satellites have been sent to orbit. And when we saw the need of a platform to centralize antenna management, data reception, automation of the processing, and also integration with the payload planning systems, any satellite orchestration system, all of that together, that's where we built this platform called Unified Ground Ops Platform. And I must thank especially Mr. Noel, Mr. Niranjan. More than a year back, when we showed the plan and vision to them, their positive feedback was very encouraging, and that's when we started building our product. After building the foundation layer, we were very sure we wanted to integrate with the best one and the big one, and of course the Safran antenna systems. Another reason to thank Mr. Noel to invite us to France, me and my colleague, our Chief Product Officer, Colonel Alok, to France to visit their headquarters, look at the manufacturing facilities. It was a unique and very precious learning experience for us. And this is also another example how Safran is helping local ecosystem, small startups like us, to integrate the product and solve real problems. This MO is just not about just the integration of two products. It's also about building next generation ground segment platforms, which are observable, intelligent, scalable, and that solves real problems. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you, SIA, for having us here. And thanks, Mr. Noel and Niranjan again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us Mr. Rainer Horn, partner at Novaspace, who's a respected global voice in space market intelligence and industry strategy, and brings an international perspective on defense space, industrial collaboration, and market evolution. Let's put our hands together to welcome Mr. Horn for his address.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody. I guess we're probably going to get some slides shortly here. There they are. Okay.
I think we have taken a lot of time for the inauguration. I'm very sorry, but we have to listen to the experts. So thank you very much for your patience. I'm really thankful to for Major General Neeraj Shukla, who was given, who's officiating Director General for Strategy Planning, gave us. Hello. So Major General Neeraj Shukla has started with his address, which was we heard very patiently, and it was really remarkable. We are also thankful to Mr. Shakya, who has come all the way to attend, and he's always well-wisher and friend to SIA. Thank you, sir, for coming. And we are really thankful to Rainer Horn, who's also a friend and is a partner with the SIA, to be present here. I'm really thankful for your presence. I'm really thankful to Shivaji Chateerjee, who's always stand with us, and he's also very critic about what our operations are, and we take it as a compliment whatever he says. And thank you very much for your kind presence. We are thankful for Mr. Niranjan Malode for his address here. And with that note, I have come to end of my closing on vote of thanks. Please join for the today deliberation and tomorrow also. Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, before we close this session, I have an important announcement to make. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to showcase the Gillette demo vehicle, Satcom on the move with the low-profile ESA antenna. Gillette, as you all know, is a global leader with over 3 decades of expertise, has been promoting broadband connectivity across skies, seas, and remote terrains. And the demo vehicle is placed in the parking lot, which you can witness during the tea, coffee, and the lunch breaks. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I would invite all of you to kindly join us for a cup of tea, which is served in the exhibition area. We also request you all to kindly visit the exhibition and also the demo vehicle if you have time to visit. But the next session will commence sharp at 11:30. We request you all to be kindly seated back at 11:25. Thank you.